Okay, what we're going to do today is talk about chords, and more specifically, chord inversions. What they are, how to play them, and why they're important to you. But before we talk about chord inversions, let's talk about the chords that you're most familiar with. You have already figured out how to play chords on the piano simply by playing a note, skipping every other note, and just playing chords. And these are the chords that you're most familiar with. What you probably didn't realize is that you've already been playing chords in what we call root position. For example, this is a C major chord, or a triad because it's got 3 notes, but a C major chord, and it is in root position. Why? Because the name of the chord, the note C, is at the bottom of the chord. And just like a tree, the roots are at the bottom of the tree, this is a C chord in root position. This is an F chord in root position because the F is at the bottom of the chord. This is a D minor chord in root position. Why? Because the D is in the bottom of the chord. Now we're going to talk about chord inversions, and it's actually something that's pretty easy to understand. But let's back up a little bit and let's go back to our C major triad, okay, in root position. This is a C major triad, and there are many different ways to play this C major triad, as long as we have the notes C, E, and G in the C major triad. So we don't have to do this. What if we were to take this C and bring it up an octave to the very next C? Look, we still have our C, E, and G, but now we're playing a C chord in first inversion. Think of it as the notes are having a race to the top of the piano, and the note C is in first place. It's the first inversion. C, E, and G. All we did was bring it up from here to here. We can keep on going. What if we bring this E all the way up an octave to there? We still have our C, E, and G. And if we look at our little race of notes to the top of the piano, the C is in second place. So we know that this is a C chord in second inversion. C, E, G still. Let's do one more step and take this G up even an octave higher than that. And we have a C major triad back to root position, C, E, G. So you can see that we can build our C chord in many different ways. And those are inversions. That is your C major triad in root, first, second, and back to root. Okay, so you're probably asking yourselves, why do I need to know about inversions? And here's why. When you're playing a song on the piano, or more specifically a chord progression, all right, a lot of you are playing your chords in root position. So let's say, for example, I want to play C, F, G, right? You're going to be doing this. Doesn't sound bad, it sounds okay, but there's a much easier way, more simplified way to do it, and you also want to try to make your chords have what we call good voice leading. Make your chords, play your chords so that they don't jump around so much. That's a lot of jumping around to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to keep our chords within a certain area without jumping all around the keyboard in root position chords. And this is where inversions come in handy. So watch this. Let's say I wanted to go from C to G, okay? There's my C in root position. Instead of jumping all the way up here, watch this. I'm going to try to find the closest inversion of G that there is to this position. So I'll start down here, and I'm going to bring this G triad in root position. I'm going to bring this G note up here. So I have what's called a G in first inversion, And I think I'm going to keep this G in my chord progression. So now listen to my C to G chord progression going from C to G in first inversion. I think that sounds a lot better than doing this. And it's certainly a lot easier to do this. And I think it sounds better too. You can also do it from C to other chords, and you can also use other chords to other inversions. Try to find the inversion that's closest to the chord that you're currently playing, and I guarantee you'll like the way that your chord progressions sound. Let's do one more example. Here's a D minor in root position. I want to go from D minor to A minor. Well, typically what we've been doing is this. And that's a lot of hopping around, and it doesn't sound too good, so I'm going to start by playing an A minor down here. I'm going to flip this A all the way up here, and I've got myself an A minor triad in first inversion. Look at this. There's my D minor to my A minor. Okay? And that sounds a lot better than this. Okay? So chord inversions are a great way to play chord progressions a lot smoother, and the voice leading is a lot better.